URC Power Rankings, folks, for round number 6. 6 games is a decent chunk of the season, so we can kind of get a decent measure on where the teams are at. There's a bunch of teams, like the top, I don't know how many is it, like 8 teams, who've got at least a 2-game positive record, and a lot of teams who are kind of struggling. But we'll go through the rankings with a little bit more weight being put on the recent results, doing the Power Rankings thing, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. The Scarlets drop 1. They are in 16th. Their record is 1 win, 5 losses. They lost to the Ospreys. They didn't score any tries. They didn't score any points in the second half. Yeah, it's not going well for the Scarlets guys at the moment. It's only up from here. The Dragons, a kind of familiar spot. I remember doing Power Rankings with them before, where they and Zebre were 15th and 16th for the majority of the season. They played the Sharks, which is a team chock full of talent, and got pretty well beaten. They did score a couple of decent tries. They gave away some soft ones. It was always going to be a point in the season where the Sharks came right, and sadly for the Dragons, yeah, that was against them, so they conceded a fair hammering. Speaking of Zebre, they are here in 14th, down 2 spots. So all these 3 teams down. Zebre played the Lions. They got well hammered. They were well down early as well. JC got a couple of tries, I think, out on that left wing. But, yeah, I mean, Willem Albert's kicking a conversion at the end was just kind of salt in the wound, wasn't it, for the Zebre boys? So, yeah, they were on a 2-match unbeaten run with a draw and a win, which is a heck of a lot better than last season, but back down to earth with that loss to the Lions. And then the Sharks. I'm wearing your jersey because you finally got a win. You were the last URC team to get a win and did it in pretty emphatic fashion. The list of try scorers is nuts, man. How is this their first win? Fassi got a try. Mapimpi got a try. Etzebeth got a try. Werner Koch got a try with those great hands. I mean, Grant Williams got a couple. Got one. Like, insane. So, yeah, the Sharks, onwards and upwards for them as well, finally getting their win, up 4 spots in the Power Rankings, but they are still at 1 win, 5 losses. Next is the Stormers, the only South African team to not win at the weekend. They had the winning of their game against Cardiff, but Cardiff just kept coming back at them. So down 3 spots in the Power Rankings. Their record is 2 and 4. Yeah, they honestly had the winning of the game. So troubling. They're also a team which I think didn't have that many Springboks in terms of the playing roster, but a lot of talented players. So, yeah, disappointing. Disappointing to put it mildly. And then Cardiff. Yeah, I've got Cardiff up 2 spots with that great comeback win. I don't think they led, because I watched it, the entire game until the death when they went in front literally as the clock was in the red. So, good, what do you call it, like mental fortitude to go down, seemingly be dead and buried, and just keep coming back. So, yeah, I know it's not always been the easiest of times for Cardiff, but 2 wins, 3 losses, and a draw now, so not too far away from a 50-50 record. Yeah, we'll see if they can kind of crack on with that morale-boosting win. The Ospreys, speaking of morale-boosting, managed to get themselves a win over, as I said, the kind of lowly at this point Scarlets. They conceded a penalty, scored a try. Conceded a penalty, scored a try. If you go at that rate, you're probably going to win most of the games you play, because 5 is usually more than 3. So, yeah, man, bonus point try at the death was a pretty well-worked one. They'll be chuffed to get one over a local rival. Their record is now 3 and 3, and they're in the same spot in the Power Rankings as last week. And then the finishing out the bottom half is the Lions, who are up 2 spots in the Power Rankings with their win over Zebre. So, I mean, there was a little bit of talk by the commentators about how this Zebre side's in a better position than any point during last year, which is fairly true. And the Lions didn't look flustered at all. They put them to the sword. They've looked pretty decent, and it's pleasing for them to get them some points on the board. It sucks that the crowd always, I know there's not a huge crowd there, but they sit on the same side as the camera because it literally looks like no one's there, even though there are people sitting in the shade. But, yeah, man, 4 minutes they got on the board. Horn set up a try, got one himself. 28 minutes, they had a bonus point. Yeah, Willem Alberts with the final kick to get the to get himself a couple of points was a bit crazy, but there you go. Bottom half of the log. Munster are coming in at 8th, so they are down 2 spots on the Power Rankings, but I wouldn't be too down if I was a Munster fan, because they went away to Leinster. They had a side with a few guys out injured. Still played pretty well, man. Got themselves within 7 points. They pick up a losing bonus point. So I got them down on the power rankings. Their record is 3 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, which is not that flash. But I still feel like, they're well in the hunt. So, yeah, despite the loss, I still think there's some positives to take from that one. Connacht are there in 7th after their flying start to the season. They are now at 4-2. They lost to the Bulls. They got pretty handily beaten. They conceded, I think, 30 points in the first half, which is never going to be a good way to win the game. If you go by the last try wins rules from the schoolyard days, then Connacht would have won it. But that's not how it works in the URC. So at least they kept fighting. But, big old loss for them. And then Edinburgh, pretty disappointing. I think they will be to lose at home to Benetton, the only home side to lose this week in the URC. So Kinghorn, before he heads off to France, manages to score a couple of tries. Gave one away as well. But, 12-0 lead. We're looking pretty comfortable. Benetton had a big comeback. Had a chance for a drop goal at the end to win it, but Healy pushed it wide. So 4-2, same record as Connacht and a lot of other teams. But, down 2 spots in the power rankings with that loss. And then Ulster, another side who are down 2 spots in the power rankings. They had a great lead up against Glasgow, who's a team who's looking pretty good. You're away from home, you're playing Glasgow, and 14-0 lead. Happy days, but then no more tries. A couple of penalties, but that's it. So, couldn't keep up the kind of rate of scoring in the Glasgow Cold, but still a 4-2 record. Glasgow's playing pretty good rugby, so not a disgrace to lose to them. The Bulls are the highest of the South African sides, up in 4th. Their record is also 4-2, up 3 spots in the power rankings. And I love just seeing some of these guys back in South Africa, like Aka van der Merwe getting a try, Willie Leroux. First game for the Bulls since he's returned from Japan, so that's great. Oracle getting a bit of power. I mean, they scored a lot of points, the Bulls, so their forwards just seem to be pretty dominant. Very pleasing. Very pleasing from the boys in Pretoria. Maybe the biggest surprise, man, is Benetton. Benetton's third. You remember how Benetton third? Well, man, they won away at Edinburgh. Like, Edinburgh, up until that point, only lost 1 game. So, it's a good scalp to be taking. The only team to get an away win this week. Got them up 5 spots in the power rankings. They've only lost 1 game. They're at 4 wins, a loss, and a draw. So, they've lost fewer games than the Bulls, Ulster, Edinburgh. Connacht have all lost 2. Munster's lost 2. So, I don't know, man. Benetton, how long can they keep this up? They scored maybe a little bit of a tricky one from turnover ball. I forget the name of the winger, but he's got some real wheels. Zenon got one from the Kinghorn kind of gift. They finished the game with a red card, but were able to see it out for a pretty famous victory, man. So go Benetton. Second, I've actually got Leinster, who despite winning, dropped 1 spot on the power rankings. Their record is 5-1. I would describe the win as kind of solid over rivals Munster. Great crowd, but without being kind of that spectacular. Like, they looked all right. They didn't win by a huge scoreline. It was still a pretty tight game. Munster pushed them right down to the wire. And, we'll kind of have to see. It was a bit disjointed with Ross Byrne going off early, but Frawley did all right. And then they got Prendergast in the wings as well. So we'll see how well they're able to go in the absence of Johnny Sexton, basically. And then Glasgow, goodness me, number 1. They got the same record as Leinster at 5-1. But power rankings-wise, their win over Ulster, it just counts for a bit more, man. It's a higher ranked team than Munster, and they won by a bigger scoreline. Both sides won at home. They've just been credited with slightly more, so they ping ahead of Leinster. Pressure on you, Glasgow. Back from 14-0 down, 14-all at half-time. Kyle Rowe put them in the lead. Matthews scored during a yellow card, which was, pretty pleasing. He ended up getting a double. So, Glasgow playing some pretty good rugby. So, there you go, folks. You guys let us know your thoughts. Bulls' highest-ranked South African team. Are they going to crack on from here? Or do you think the Sharks, with that roster of theirs, are bound to go on a bit of a winning run? Leinster and Glasgow swapping places is going to be an interesting one going forward, because Leinster tends to be the side that dominates the power rankings or still yet to pick up their first URC title. Cardiff, can they bounce on after, inspiring win over the Stormers guys at the death? Also, check out 2 Cents on Tour. I was in China recently this year. I was exploring a football stadium because, I love my stadiums. They don't really have rugby stadiums in China, but I was exploring a football stadium and got told to stop filming by a fireman. So if you want to see that, I'll put it up there. 2 Cents on Tour. It's me on the channel. Something a bit different. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts and talk to you guys again soon.